It's a sobering week for us here again as we approach Holy Week. It's a serious week, but it can be a wonderfully life-giving week. We are drawing close to the cross that we might be humbled at what Jesus did in giving His life for our sins. I encourage you, take it so seriously. Wow, and our lives can be changed, our affections stirred. If you were with us yesterday, we learned that animal sacrifices are ultimately insufficient. The blood of bulls and goats, it's impossible for them to take away sins. That's why the priests sacrificed year after year after year, because it was never good enough. In the book of Hebrews, now we learn that when Jesus Christ, when He offered Himself up, Hebrews chapter 10, verse 12 says this, but the contrast of animal sacrifices, but when Christ had offered for all time, listen, a single sacrifice for sins, He sat down. Now, very, very important words there. Notice the contrast of Christ again with lambs or bulls or goats. Notice a single sacrifice now, He sits down. Why is that so significant? When Jesus Christ offered Himself perfectly for our sins, the work was done. The work was never done with the priests and the old covenant, but the work is now done with Jesus Christ and the new covenant. That's why when Jesus is dying on the cross, He exclaimed so wondrously, "It is finished." What is finished? Payment for sin is complete. That is why when Jesus dies in the temple, the curtain, which is 4 inches thick and 60 feet high, is torn from top to bottom. Imagine being one of the priests that were doing their duties at Passover in the temple, and you saw the curtain torn from top to bottom. Why was it torn? Because now access to God has been permanently established. How awesome is that? Again, offered to you and I today. When Jesus sits down, He sits down. Why? Because He is now resting from His work. And here's the glory of the crucifixion. When Jesus Christ rests from His work, He offers you and I rest as well. That is why Jesus says in Matthew chapter 11, and He invites you, me right now, come to me all who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Listen, take my yoke upon you, learn from me. I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. Because Jesus died, paid our sins, and rested, you and I are now invited to rest. How many of us are restless? How many of us are so weary and so burdened? That's why Jesus died. To bear your sin, to take your sorrows, to take your burden and give us rest in Him. Call us today on our prayer lines, the number right at the bottom of the screen, to find true rest in Jesus Christ for our souls. Please, Lord, may you do that today.